Is peace a human right? Why do you think it is, or why do you think it isn't? And does our government, or the government you're from, if you're not, the country you're from, does it believe peace is a human right? And please say your name and where you're from, so we all have a sense. You might stand up, and I'll cut you off after 3 sentences.
Okay, I'm an international student at the University of Michigan, and I'm originally from...
Got to talk into...
Hello. I'm an international student at the University of Michigan, double major in psychology and economics, and I'm originally from China. And I think that in my country, peace, believe that it's human right.
Do you believe it is?
I believe it.
Does China believe it is?
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that. Stand
David,
up. Stand. I'm going to ask you so people can see.
No worries. David from just outside Toronto. I'm Canadian. I believe peace is a human right. I could come up with multiple suggestions, but basic needs to live, ability to be safe, self-actualization.
Short sentences. Is Canada
Yes.
believes in peace as a human right?
Yes.
Wrong.
Hi, I'm Russell Chapman. I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and I do believe that.
You almost have to eat it.
And I believe that peace is a human right, and
Why?
because everybody has the right to peace in their own mind, and I feel like everybody has the right to say that everybody has the same rights as they do.
In the U.S.?
And the U.S. I don't know about that right now with the person we have right now, but
Well, hey, it's not just him.
yeah, it's not just him, but
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
6.
What would be considered a human right? Like, what is the basic?
Stand up and ask the question.
Okay. So I had a question. So we're asking you to define, is peace a human right? But what is a human right? How would you define that? Because peace is hard to define.
Well, so are you wanting a definition of human rights or peace?
Yes. Before I answer the question, I would like a definition of human rights.
I want you to tell me yours and answer the question.
Okay. So I guess my definition of a human right is something that could be provided and should be provided for all people. So I guess with that view, I would say that yes, peace is a human right, because even though it is not provided, I believe it should be an option. We all know that eventually.
All right, cut it off, baby.
All right.
Short, declarative sentences.
My name is Jody Tull, and I was born in Arbor, Michigan, living in Heidelberg, Germany. I absolutely believe that peace is a human right because we are here, we're meant to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And peace is a prerequisite to thriving.
Does Germany believe in peace as a human right?
Yes. I think they've rebranded, they've regrouped, and in their rebranding and regrouping, yes.
Come on, you can do it. Stand up, put it right close to your mouth, or we won't hear you if you do this.
Hi, so I'm a student at the University of Michigan. I'm studying biomedical engineering, so this is kind of a fun treat outside of my normal classes. I think it's a really interesting question. I initially want to say yes, but then I think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that. I actually just Googled it before this conversation started. And food...
Short, declarative sentences.
Well, okay, so until we can provide food, housing, and water, I think safety and peace comes after that. So it's a hard question for me. I don't know.
That's cool. Anybody with a burning desire? Okay. Talk right into it.
My name is Darius. I'm from Muskegon. My name is Darius Riggs. I go to Muskegon High School, and I think, yes, every human has a right of peace. I believe that everybody should be treated equal. And in my country, I think, no, everybody is not being treated with peace. There are different religions, minorities.
All right. Cut it off. Thank you. We got to get as many as we can. Yes, young lady in the stripes, I like your garment. Up.
My name is Zuleidis. I'm from Puerto Rico.
Hi.
I believe that peace is a human right. Sadly, I'm pretty sure with the situation right now, Puerto Rico does not believe in peace with the students, and there's like a huge debt. Our universities in a crisis, many things.
Short sentences. Thank you. Yes. Stand up. Eat the mic.
My name is Eli Richards, and I go to high school here at Pioneer High School. And I do not think that peace is a human right, because I think that human rights are kind of a figment of our imaginations, and I don't think enough people imagine peace to be a human right. I wish that it was, and I would like to think that I imagine that, and I want more people to imagine that.
How about the U.S.?
I don't think enough people imagine it here.
Does our government, and I don't mean Trump, I mean all U.S. governments over history.
Yes, I understand.
It's a simple yes or no.
I think no.
Thank you.
Jody, is your mic on?
Yes.
No,
Oh, I don't know. These are recording mics.
Oh, no, or you get the,
Should I get our resident conservative, Mark? Come on, Mark. You know I've come to love you and your twisted thoughts. No.
Yeah. Yeah, out of 700 people, I am the only conservative.
You are not. That is a lie.
I have not met one
They're,
yet.
because they're being quiet and flying under the radar.
And I'm not.
No, you're not. I like that about you.
A human right? Yes, but I will protect my family first, and if somebody threatens that.
That's different.
If they don't want it to die or be hurt, then don't attack my family.
Cool.
Simple.
How about our governments? Think honestly now, Mark.
Back to the definition of peace. They do want peace.
Yeah,
I
that's
believe they do want peace.
Cool.
Or the objective.
Stand up, please. Speak into the mic. Yes.
Jody, living under the bomb is not a life. Living under drone strike is not a life. So I think we have to reclaim it as a human right.
Thank you. Did you all get that? Living under the threat of nuclear bombs is not believing that peace is a human right. Living with drone strikes, which are extrajudicial execution, i.e. murder, unless they are being used in a declared war zone. Yes, Emma.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Emma Zika, and I am a white male medical student, which is important. I believe that peace is a human right, and that the feeling, like the sensation of being at peace is also a human right, so that would include being fed, sheltered, and cared for.
Does the U.S.?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Bobby Ghosh. I'm from New York and I live in New Delhi at the moment. I believe peace is not a human right. I believe it's an aspiration. I don't think the United States government or the government of India, I don't believe any government should regard peace as a human right. I think it would be irresponsible for governments to take that attitude.
Who else?
I'm not sure I would call it a human right. I would call it a human necessity in order to be able to thrive. I don't think governments feel that they have any basic responsibility to provide this for their people. I think it's up to the government and the people together to work together to have that possible.
Thank you. Anybody else have a burning desire to speak before I? Cool.
My name is Do Nguyen. I'm from Ohio, Rotarian for 22 years. When we talk about peace, we talk about happy. We talk about happiness. So peace is human right because we want every people to be happy.
Does Vietnam believe in peace? originally from Vietnam.
I believe in peace, and every one of us here want to be happy. We want to be at peace.
Mm-hmm. Please. Hi.
I'm Kathy, and I believe that peace is a human right because the alternative should be unacceptable to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we are beings, not human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And do I think that my government has it? I think this government,
Not this one.
Canada,
Oh, you're
is
Canadian.
is
Sorry.
ascribing to it. We're moving in the right direction, but we don't have it right yet.
You are correct. In my view. Yes, sir. Sorry.
My name is Ashok Gupta. I'm a Rotarian for 32 years. And one of the presidential candidates from Cleveland, he wanted to run on a forum. He wanted to start a Department of Peace. Anybody knows?
HR 11111, currently in
From Cleveland, yeah. He really pushed for that. He didn't get a nomination. But complete first time I heard the presidential candidate talking about it, we should have a Department of Peace and a Department of War.
We shouldn't have a Department of War. Okay, I'm gonna just say a few things and then we can get back to this. I'm gonna just comment about the right to peace. A couple of years ago, can y'all hear me? Okay, sorry. A couple of years ago in the UN Human Rights Council, which of course is a controversial body, and I have my own issues with it because I led a delegation to do a report for them and it was hell. Not the delegation, the Human Rights Council. But they did try to pass a resolution saying that peace was a basic human right. The only country to vote against that resolution was the United States of America. Our allies in NATO mostly abstained. Well, which is the same thing as voting no. But our country actually stated publicly that it does not believe that peace is a human right. Now, I just would like to talk about national security versus human security and why if you have a national security framework, you pretty much, it precludes the ability to really consider peace as a human right. If you shift your thinking to human security, human-centric security, then you are more inclined to believe that peace actually is a basic human right. I happen to believe it is a basic human right. I believe that the human rights that are embodied in the UN Declaration of Human Rights are universal. Unfortunately, they are too many times aspirations and not reality. But fortunately, in my view, there are organizations around the world like Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, Oxfam, I could go on and on and on, that struggle on behalf of human rights in countries all over the world. Okay? The national security state is considered to have developed in about the 1600s, but of course it goes back way before that. And under the premise of national security state, right, the duty of the state is to provide for the security of its people. That's all right. You didn't do anything yet. It is the duty of the state to provide for the security of their people. But in my view, the way that is defined is extremely narrow. It means I will protect you if another country invades us, which is probably useful. But as a framework with which to address the needs of a people, I think it's rather shallow. And in my view, over all the years I've been working on this stuff, what national security really is about is protecting the apparatus of the state. Right? Think about it. The purpose is to make sure that no matter what happens, the apparatus of a state, not just here, The apparatus of a state survives war. The United States, for example, I can't speak to other countries because I don't know. But the United States has an evacuation plan to get the most important people in Washington out into the hills underground if there were a nuclear war. The rest of us be damned. And if you've ever been to Hiroshima, I swear to God, the first time I went, I recommend that you go if you think that nuclear bombs are useful. I swear to God that I could feel the spirits, and I'm an atheist, just to horrify you further with my tattoos and my hair, but I am spiritual. I swear to God I could feel the spirits of those people who were vaporized like that. And then we did it again a few days later to test a different bomb. But if you really believe that the important thing is to defend the apparatus of the state, then you really are not believing that peace is a basic human right. A converse way of looking at it is human-centric, individual-centric. It's human security, which does not mean that there is not a national security component. But it means that the resources of the state go to meet the basic needs of its citizens, right? Everybody should have the right to health care. Doesn't have to be a Cadillac insurance policy, but everybody should have the right to get health care if they're sick. Everybody should have the right to some form of decent housing. It does not have to be a mansion in Grosse Pointe. Are there mansions in Grosse Pointe, or am I misremembering?
Mansions in Ann Arbor.
Wherever. But you should not have to live under a bridge. And if you do live under a bridge, people should not look at you and say, if you pulled yourself up by your freaking bootstraps, I'm not using the F-bomb, your freaking bootstraps, you wouldn't be under that bridge. Because that's bull. My brother was born a deaf child. And as an adolescent, he became a violent, paranoid schizophrenic. He tried to kill my mother several times. He chased Mom and I out of the house with a butcher knife. I beat him up as best I could, but if you have ever tried to defend someone against a full-blown crazy person, it's pretty tough. If I didn't have the family that I have, that has kept my brother at home his entire life, he would be under a bridge. I do not believe that anyone deserves to be under a bridge or wrapped up in a blanket on a street over a heating grate. Everybody has the right to a basic education. Personally, I think we have the right to education through university. And if we weren't giving $50 billion to the military that already spends more than the next 10 countries combined, including Russia, China, India, Pakistan, we could pay for college education. How many times do we hear that education is the most important element of democracy? Right? I firmly believe it. I went to public school. I went to public university. I believe in public school. But if we rape our public school and give the money to vouchers and private schools, how are we going to have basic education that supports a democracy? That is part, now. We don't have to agree, Mark. You can't, you're not listening if you're already deciding, Mark. Your listening skills need to be developed. But I love Mark now. We're going to do it by email. No, but if you do not have I'm not saying there's no room for private education. But I'm saying everybody should have access to public education worthy of the name. If everybody's basic needs are met, there is less unrest. It does not mean that we would suddenly become angels and there would be no violence. But people tend to get violent when their needs are not met, when they have no hope, no option. That is what human security focuses on, not national security. As you can imagine, most of the countries of the world do not embrace human security because too many of the countries of the world make a lot of money. I'm really trying to be good. I wasn't joking there. I'm trying to be good, trying to be good. Thinking of my mom. Mom, I won't say F, Mom. Too many countries make tons of money off military weaponry. United States, France, the UK, even Sweden sells a lot of military equipment. You cannot pretend that you believe peace is a human right if at the same time you are selling weapons to countries that are killing their own people, if you are selling weapons to countries that are dictatorships. One of our good friends, Saudi Arabia, nice country. Unless you're from somewhere else and you're one of their practically slave labor. We sell weapons to Saudi Arabia. I think we really need to think about what does it mean when a candidate says, I'm running on national defense, right? I'm at a campaign event and I'm strong on security. I have never heard a person ask any candidate, what does that mean? Right? What does it mean? I want to be strong on security. Nobody ever says, does that mean that you think we should modernize our nuclear weapons? The hell does that mean? You can already blast the crap out of the entire planet. Why do you need to modernize them? Do we ever ask candidates, do you support drone strikes in countries with which we are not at war? Is that security? Do we ever ask candidates, do you support the building and fielding of killer robots? I bet none of you know what a killer robot is. Killer robots are an advance, if you like to think about it that way, over drones. These are weapon systems under development that on their own will be able to target and kill human beings. Think about it, at least with the drone, right? The drone flies semi-autonomously. When the drone gets over someone that looks suspicious, whoa, babe, I scared her.
Exactly what happened.
That's what happens to people in Pakistan, Yemen, you know what I'm saying? The drone, then the pilot, oftentimes in Cheech Air Force Base in Nevada, can order the drone to go lower. Suspicious woman. And then the fellow looking, who decides that you are a suspicious terrorist villain, blasts you to death. Hellfire missiles. Pew! You're gone. They want to remove that human being from the process. Now think about that. Weapon systems that once programmed and set loose in battle are being given the right to decide whether you live or die. And the United States of America is the leader in the development of killer robots. I bet that doesn't surprise you. My husband and I started a campaign in our kitchen, a couple years ago, I can't remember. It all mushes together to stop killer robots. And within 9 months, we terrified the governments of the world because they thought they'd be able to slip them under the radar just like they did drones. And they're talking in the UN about restrictions on killer robots. But we need help because most people don't even know they exist. And just so that, just so that we really understand that anything that is done comes back to bite us, I wanted to tell you that the state of North Dakota is the first state in the United States of America that has passed laws allowing local law enforcement to use drones, to use weaponized drones, non-lethal, against US citizens in their own state. Ponder that one. Non-lethal weapons include concussion grenades that kind of knock you confused onto the ground. They can use rubber bullets, which have killed people in the world. They can use tear gas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it to say that if we don't want this, if we really believe in peace, it's not just about being nice to other people, and it's also about tackling the issue of what is defense. Attacking countries all over the world because we can is not defense, it's aggression. I don't care who does it. When Russia invaded Crimea, I thought that was wrong too. Unfortunately, our country has the biggest history, longest history since its birth in attacking other countries. It's really sad, but it's damn true, and I can provide you with a list of the places we've invaded. And that doesn't include CIA and all the other fun stuff. But it can change. In 1948, Costa Rica, I know it's small, it doesn't matter, it's an example. Costa Rica disbanded its military and uses that money that would have gone to weaponry for the social well-being of its people. Shock, shock. In my view, the purpose of government, especially if it's a democracy, is to take care of the needs of its people. And when we somehow think, oh, the government will do that, I'm thinking, who's that clown? I'm sorry. I think I'm a clown half the time. Who is the clown in Washington that suddenly got elected? And I'm not referring to any individual, and I mean that. Whether it's a Democratic idiot, a Republican idiot, I don't care. But who are these people that have no experience, come to Washington and decide our future? And suddenly we're like, oh, the government. It's like, hello, who are you? You were a used car salesman before you were elected. And that doesn't mean that you can't be a used car salesman and get elected. But don't give up your power as a citizen because you think the government is going to take care of you. It isn't. The government anywhere only takes care of you if you get up off your butt and you press them to do what they say they're going to do. What do you think about that, people? What do you think about weapons? Well, nobody's going to say they like them, I hope. Although I don't mind skeet shooting. Archery. Do you have a thought? Anybody have a thought they want to share? It can be diametrically opposed to anything I say. I don't care.
Terry Link from the Peace Education Center in Lansing.
Stand up so we can.
Sorry.
Thank you.
In Michigan, as well as 2 other states right now, everybody in the Michigan delegation, including our 2 Democratic senators, are in full support of a ground-based missile defense system in Fort Custer, which is over by Battle Creek. This is a system that the military itself has not asked for. The Pentagon has not asked for this. It's an economic development boondoggle of $3.2 billion, which is why everybody in the delegation, except the Freedom Caucus's Justin Amash, is supporting moving it here, even though they don't want it. It doesn't work. There's a number of reports, Union of Concerned Scientists. It's the military-industrial complex that drives the whole thing. The F-35 is in 46, it's completed in 46 out of the 50 states. If you pull the F-35, everybody that's running for office in those places is going to say, no, we can't lose the jobs. Yet study after study shows that more investment in green technology, infrastructure, education, healthcare bring way more jobs in military.
It's true.
If you want more information, link at msu.edu.
Or look at the Federation of American Scientists. I mean, there are tons of organizations that report on this. You do know that the person who coined the phrase the military-industrial complex was not a tree-hugging liberal from Vermont. It was Eisenhower. At the end of World War II, he worried about maintaining a standing army and putting our resources into more military equipment for exactly the reasons we are seeing. And yet, you know, shoot, so to speak.
Donna. So I would like to say that the government that doesn't care for us and the military-industrial complex is us. And therein is the problem. We don't claim that it is us, and we do not engage in dialogue that allows us to care about each other. We do not develop the relationships like the young man did when he went to live with the people who slaughtered his family. And until we can say that which I abhor is me, I'm going nowhere fast.
Mm-hmm. When you know something and you think it's wrong and you take no action, it's complicity. People hate to hear that. If you know, for example, I'm going to touch a subject that makes every man quake in his shoes. If you know sexual harassment and rape is wrong and you do nothing, you're complicit. Men who actually really believe that it is wrong and would never rape should stand up, join with women's organizations working to stop sexual harassment and rape, and take action. Being quiet about it does not mean that you are not complicit, and it does not mean that you do not necessarily engage in sexual harassment yourself. Baby, baby. Oh, I'm just telling you you're beautiful because it makes you feel good. Bullshit. It does not make you feel good. It makes you feel invaded. We have some motion from the room. Do you want to say something about that? You don't have to. Anybody over here? Comment? Observation? Yeah. Good.
So Catherine, I'm a student here at the University of Michigan, and just talking about women's rights, like women's rights are just human rights.
Right.
That like men's rights are human rights, and a lot of time men's rights go right along with human rights. Men's rights go with women's rights. That like when men talk about they feel like they can't express their emotions, they feel like they can't show feminine qualities, that's because of the discrimination against women.
And men.
Yeah, and so, yeah, like for men, being related to a woman, being called a woman in any way is an insult, and that's why women's rights are so important.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I'm a feminist, which probably doesn't surprise you, but I will define feminism. It means equal rights, period. Doesn't mean anything else. It can mean a whole bunch of stuff if you want it to. Feminism means equal rights. And just because you're a man does not mean you should earn more money than I do because you work the same job. Probably I'm better at it than you are. Maybe.
Back again. Jody, would you please tell these people what happened when Costa Rica actually abandoned their military?
Why don't you tell them?
Well, they did invest in the social programs. And as a result of it, they educated their people. They have one of the highest literacy rates in the world now. They gave them health care, and they gave them jobs. So those people are infinitely better off without a military that's, 10 times stronger than any other countries?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and they challenged the U.S. in the wars in that area.
Yeah. For which Oscar Arias, the former president of Costa Rica, received the Peace Prize. I can't remember what year. Damn, I was going to say something I forgot. Anybody? Oh, it's okay, it'll come or go. If it wasn't that important, who cares? Somebody else have an observation, thought?
I just wanted to say that I think
Will you on your feet. Name, rank, serial number.
My name's Angela. I'm from Taylor, Michigan. And I did want to say that I think there is one exception in our government in my lifetime that does believe that peace is a human right, and that is Mr. Jimmy Carter, former president.
Yes, I agree. But he does now.
Well, he does not. He didn't as president.
I agree. No, Jimmy Carter has been a great former president. he was not that effective as a president, and he caved in. Okay. Oh, during Jimmy's term, I think it was that the nuns were killed. No, that was later. But it was later. Military aid had been cut off to one of the countries, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Salvador, I don't know, during Carter's time. And there was military pressure on him, both from whatever country was cut off and the military of the US, to reinstate it, and he did. I was going to say something I'm not going to say. No, he is an outstanding former president, and I think his experience has helped him understand that peace is a human right, and that he says he's a feminist. He says that Christians who only talk God and do not act out God are not Christian in his view. In fact, I think he resigned from the Baptist Church on those grounds. Yeah. So yes, he's an awesome former president. Once they get in power and the pressure is on them, it's really tough. That's not an excuse. I'd never run for office. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm from Bowling Green, Ohio, and I just want to add that yesterday was the Trans Day of Visibility, and we have yet to mention it in any of these sessions. Any of the violence that happened to trans people and its allies, we need to recognize that.
Of Trans Day of Disability?
Of visibility.
Of visibility.
Of showing and
Yep.
trans lives.
Yesterday was the Trans Day of Visibility, and it hasn't been mentioned. I have many friends who are trans. I love them all. I love you no matter what you are. Well, more or less. There are a few I could pick out that is not the case, but wow, we got a lot waving. We have a young one. I like, stand up. Didn't you speak before? You can speak again. Stand up.
I actually have a question. So kind of looking at the Costa Rica case example and the argument for defunding the military, is there a concern that if we, considering our past history of aggressive behavior and kind of like this national security stance, then defund the military, is there a period of vulnerability in which there's still expected retribution from countries who are, for lack of a better word, salty that we've been horrible to them for lots of years, and kind of the growing pains that go along with that?
I don't know how many of you, did you hear the question? Yes. If we lowered our military, would we be attacked? Who knows? But and how many people in this room know that there are negotiations underway right now for a nuclear ban treaty? Not many. Nuclear weapons. In one of the committees of the United Nations, they voted that the UN should negotiate a treaty banning nuclear weapons. And the first phase of negotiations started last week. As you can imagine, the nuclear powers are not happy about that. And part of the reason is that it's been pursued in a humanitarian disarmament framework, which I'm sure you've never heard of. It grew out of the landmine work. And we were able to get militaries and governments to give up landmines because of the humanitarian cost versus the short-term military goal of using anti-personnel landmines. Okay, the same thing with cluster bombs, which the ban treaty was negotiated in 2008. Part of what happens even when countries have not signed it is the stigmatization of a weapon is so powerful that it makes it harder for a country that wants to see itself as legitimate to use said weapon. So a huge bunch of NGOs started a humanitarian disarmament campaign about nukes. And if anybody does not understand that dropping a nuclear bomb on a city is killing only civilians, and does not bring us security, I really would like to chat. But the nuclear powers are horrified because they have not followed their own obligations under the laws they created. When the nuclear test ban and the nuclear non-proliferation treaties were negotiated, the nuclear powers obliged themselves to begin negotiating nuclear treaties to get rid of the weapons. They have not done it. And now we have this country, Russia, modernizing their nuclear weapons. One of the things, I don't live in fear of a terrorist attack. I highly doubt somebody's going to blow me up in Vermont, except for maybe Mark. Oh, you know I do love you now. You're never getting away from me, Mark. However, I live in terror of a nuclear war. I want to know why 9 countries have the right to hold this entire planet hostage to the possibility of nuclear obliteration. And why do we think that is okay? Why do we think that's okay? Makes me want to scream. Ah! I'm going to let the young lady talk first and then the old man. I'm old too. I say it with
I refer to myself the same
fraternity. Hi, Emily.
Hi. So, as what happened with our first instances of space travel, that was made into a competition.
Mm-hmm.
What we could do is make the drop all nuclear weapons and really drop funding for armies a competition, because there is nothing humans enjoy more than competition. Well, that's debatable.
I don't like it myself. Yep. Cool. Cool. So one of the things, though, about the non-proliferation treaty was that countries were allowed to use nuclear power as an energy source. In exchange for that, the nuclear states were supposed to start negotiations to get rid of their nuclear weapons. Instead, we have more countries now that have nuclear weapons. If we had gotten rid of them in the beginning, but we didn't. Oh, I said he could go next. Let the old guy talk.
Talking about how little attention this conference and nationally the nuclear problem is getting is that even though our land-based missiles are really redundant, given that we now have submarines
Yes.
and drones and other delivery systems, they are still in the United States and the Soviet Union under the launch on warning trigger.
Yes.
In addition to the Cuban Missile Crisis, we had 3 or 4 occasions in which it was almost an accidental nuclear war. The launch on warning is a decision maker about 15 to 20 minutes to decide whether to let it rip or not.
I want to just say, unfortunately, I cannot remember the name of the movie. Maybe somebody will when I mention it. There is a movie about a Soviet military fellow who was in charge of, pushing the button or whatever when he got the man who saved the world. The man who saved the world. He got the signal that he was supposed to launch the weapons, and something in his gut knew that there was a mistake. And he chose not to do it. And we're here today because he chose not to do it. It should not be like that. We should not have to worry about that happening.
Yeah, robots don't have no choice.
We shouldn't have robots. Is this my boyfriend, Al?
It is, darling. How are you?
I'm awesome now that you're here.
My name is Al Trubitz. co-founded the Military Action Group for Peace. Jody's talking about the number one issue that threatens all of us, the whole planet. And I would love it, personally, I would love it if Rotary International would make a statement to eliminate nuclear weapons from the planet. How many of you would agree that you would like to see that? How many would you say Rotary should be cautious because it might smack of being political? Please talk to your district governors, please talk to John Duco, please talk to everybody you see. That it would enhance Rotary International's image worldwide if they made a profound, clear statement to eliminate nuclear weapons. And that we know how to do that through negotiation and so forth and so on. It is totally possible. It's complicit if we don't. I thank you for the survey results.
I just want to, aren't we supposed to be done? Oh, no, we're supposed to be done. Wait, I wanted to say something. I keep forgetting what I wanted. Okay. Wait a minute. Before I forget, artificial intelligence. No, I'm not going into that. It's way too big an issue. But it's part of killer robots. And there is an international association of roboticists, which is a hard word to say. Try that one. Roboticists. Computer people who deal with AI, et cetera, people, the man in charge of deep AI at Google, all the big companies. We worked with them, and they made a statement about AI for the benefit of humanity. And part of that statement, I know I have huge issues, but I'm not going there on that one. Part of that statement is a call for no killer robots. And the reason for that is they do not want to make the same mistake that nuclear scientists did when they did not walk away from the nuclear project at the end of World War II. There's only one scientist who walked away, and that was Sir Joseph Rotblat. I had the great honor of meeting him. I wish I'd known him sooner. Every woman who's ever met him fell in love with him. He is so charming and wonderful. Well, he died. But he is the only nuclear scientist who had the wherewithal to walk away, and he dedicated his life to getting rid of nuclear weapons. And these scientists who signed the no killer robot letter do not want the same thing on their conscience, which I think is pretty outstanding. Now, I think we have time for one more. I'm going to give it to the young lady because we old people get to talk all the time.
Hi, my name is Chloe Scott, and I'm a junior studying at Arizona State University, and I'm studying nonprofit leadership and management. And in my coursework, we always talk about the Band-Aid versus cause-based approaches. And I just have to say, I think, obviously, I'm on forward with all the getting rid of the nuclear weapons and these military approaches, but I do think that's a Band-Aid approach. And what I have learned is that it's very much needed to have Band-Aid, but also prevention approaches. And I think where this, how we could do a prevention is it's a fear and a lack of trust that leads these mentalities that I need to protect myself, and the only way I can is to have the biggest nuclear power. And instead, I have been very fortunate to travel to 21 countries in my life, and I'm 21 years old.
Put the microphone closer.
Sorry,
That's
I'm
okay.
21 years old. And these experiences that I've had, and they've all been through international volunteering, well, majority, sorry, but I have gotten to have these amazing cultural immersions, and that has really shaped my compassion for other people. And I look at my peers, and they haven't had similar experiences at all, and they're not feasible for a lot of people. And I think if we just expose people to other cultures and we force these conversations and conventions like this, we can do the Band-Aid approach as well as this prevention approach to change mentalities as a whole.
Oh. Wait, before we end, I do want to ask one young woman to tell her story. She told me earlier that she, when she was even younger than she is now, which is, are you 14? She's 14, and she said to me when I was younger, She said that she used to think that she had to wait till she was older to do anything. Please stand up, Emily.
Yeah, when I was, well, really before I went into 6th grade, I used to think with the mentality that I will be more powerful when I'm older. I can make more of a difference when I'm older. I can only make a difference when I'm older. But then something changed in my brain, and I realized that I actually can make a difference, and in a way I can make more of a difference now that I'm younger, instead of waiting until I am older, because...
What did you do?
Oh, yeah, that.
Oh, that little issue.
I started a small nonprofit business to sell scarves and various other things. Really, the other things are so far only ideas, and I haven't really gotten around to doing anything with that. But I sold scarves to raise money to buy supplies for homeless people, such as sleeping bags, socks, boots, gloves, things that really should be given to them already by the government, but are not, because the government is focused on other things that might not be as important as another human life.
How many people have you helped?
I'm not sure exactly how many.
Give a guess.
That's actually really difficult.
Does your
500.
50?
Probably around 50.
That's pretty outstanding. You don't have to wait till you're an old bat to make a difference. How much is a sleeping bag? Because you did negotiate for a cheaper price, right?
Well, I was, but then I never got around to it because...
Rotary can teach you how to negotiate. No, but how much is a sleeping bag? More or less?
Depends.
Just give me a guess.
I try to get them on sale for generally less than $100.
Okay.
Currently the name is S4 Homeless, or Scarves, Stuff for the Homeless.
That is totally cool. At any age, you can make a difference. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank you all for participating. I'm sorry everybody couldn't have a chance to talk, but this is a big group. I hope we take some of these thoughts with us and really think about it. Read about it. There's a lot of literature out there on peace, sustainable peace. Don't just do the kumbaya peace, it's irrelevant. It's sustainable peace with justice and equality, about how to deal with weapons that you don't want to see existing on this planet that's already over-weaponized. How a 10-year-old child can figure out that she can raise money and help people, for God's sake. That's the kind of thing that if we all did something like that, imagine the planet. If we all stepped out of ourselves like Emily did at 6th grade, I didn't know my ass from my elbow at 6th grade. Imagine the world. Anybody can do it. Thank you all for coming. It's been a blast. Thank you for coming, everybody. It's been a blast.